All right, Shalom. Of course, I want to start off by giving all praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And it's just going to be a little, you know, just a little live show. Um, don't necessarily have a topic, to jump into. But one thing I did want to, say a few words about real quick is a few nights ago I was doing a live show. You had the usuals who come around on there. You had Might of God on there. You had Sacramento, or two letter J. As we call them. You had I'm to be honest, I'm not sure who the hell else was there. Might have just been us three, and then you had a brother who came on. He called himself Mike, right? The brother's name was Mike. So he joined, the show with us. He joined the show, and we were having a good chat, right? We were having a fair chat, right? A friendly, back and forth, discussion. But then, slowly, but surely, it's starting to, get, a little more tension. You know what I'm saying? Which is always welcome, right? The scriptures speak about, contending for the faith, man. All right. So, one thing that came up was, the whole argument about, eating, whatever type of food that you want. All right. Which is, a typical, Christian belief, right? So, we went into it with them, for a few minutes, which I re-uploaded the video, that segment of the discussion on the page. You can go ahead and watch it. I believe I put it up on the second channel first, so you're gonna have to go over to End Time Teacher 2 in order to watch that. Unless you watch the stream already, if you want to know what I'm referring to. Okay, but the one thing that he brought up was the whole thing. Oh well, Christ said, it's not that which goes in the mouth that defiles the man, but it's that which comes out. And he was like, oh, we'll see. But that proves that it's okay, to eat that type of food, in these times, man. It's like, well, man, what the hell are you talking about? If you go to, and he was referring to Matthew the 15th chapter, right, where Christ said, it's not that which goes in the mouth that defiles the man, but that which comes out. And, they'll use that to say, well, see, that means, that we can eat pork, right? We can eat shellfish. We can eat, lobster, right? We can eat, catfish, because they say that Christ made all foods clean, which is clearly not correct, according to the, according to the scriptures. But here's the thing, though, dealing with Matthew the 15th chapter. If you go up to verse 2, right, verse 2, it says what? That the Pharisees, right, they came unto Christ and were saying, hey, look, why do your, apostles, why do they, eat food without washing their hands? All right, so then when Christ went on to elaborate, if you go to verse 17 on down, then Christ responded to the question and said, hey, look, it's not that which goes into the mouth that defiles the man, but it's that which comes out. But then if you read on, as he was talking about it, he said what? But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man. So the whole context of the teaching was eating with unclean hands. Okay, Christ wasn't talking about that it's okay to eat a, pork sandwich or as what's that cat, just like G-Man says, right? Oh yeah, if you want to eat a mouse sandwich, you can do that, right? You can eat a mouse sandwich if you want because Christ made all foods clean, which is clearly not in the scriptures. But, this shows you, man, Right? This just shows you, how slick, these Christians are, man. Same thing with, John 3:16, right? They'll use that to say, oh, we'll see. Well, it says the whole world, right? That God, so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, right? That whosoever believes, they shall not perish, but they'll have everlasting life. So see, so that proves that Christ, has will offer salvation to everyone, is basically what they say, which clearly is not correct. Because you know why? You have to go precept upon precept, right here a little and there a little, and then you can properly understand the scriptures. If you go to, just to throw a couple precepts out there for you, if you go to John chapter 17 and verse 9, Christ said, hey, look, I pray not for the world, but I pray for the ones who you had given me out of the world. So wait a second. Is that a contradiction then? How can one verse say that Christ, came, and was put on the cross for the forgiveness of all the sins of the world? How can we say that if Christ said out of his own mouth in John chapter 17, verse 9, he said, hey, look, I don't pray for the world. Right? I don't pray for the world, but I pray for the ones who you have given me out of the world. Right? Go look that verse up. And then another one, if you go to Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 17, it says what? That Israel is a world of its own. Right? Israel is compared to a world. So the world in John chapter 3 verse 16 is talking about the nation of Israel. Because as I said, if you go to Isaiah chapter 45 verse 17, it calls Israel a world. Okay, so that clearly proves that the world that Christ was sent to is talking about the nation of Israel. It's not actually talking about the entire world, right? The physical world which we live on. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about a nation of people, which is what? The nation of Israel. If you go to, what is that? If you go to Matthew chapter 15, what is that verse? I believe it's verse 24. Matthew 15, verse 24. It says, what? Hey, look, I was not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right, so Christ, who the world ignorantly, calls Jesus Christ, he was only sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, those are the ones who, these people called Jesus Christ was sent to. Was who? The Jews, right? Who were the Jews today? So-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans are the real Jews of the Bible. All right, and these churches, they don't teach that. Right? That's not what these churches teach. I mean, hell, man, if you ask, I'll give an example. If you ask some of these Christians, I'll give an example, just like this guy out there. He calls himself Nephilim Free. Look him up on YouTube. Look up Nephilim Free. I asked him, well, who are the who are the Jews, right? Who are the real Jews of the Bible? And he's like, oh, as far as I'm concerned, the Jews are located over in Israel. It's like, hey, so that just shows you, man, these guys don't know what the hell's going on. Then he got that peon on there. He calls himself, what's that guy? He used to call himself Dread Lord, but now he calls himself the Sovereign Israelite, right? The Sovereign Israelite. Look him up, which he teaches a few things that's correct. I'll give him that. But then he's clearly going off. Cat's on there trying to charge, $900 for a 3-hour debate. You know what I'm saying? Cat's crazy, man. I'll give him, the benefit of a doubt. Right? He's on there teaching that, women, should not have, the liberation that they do. I'll give him that teaching's correct and in line with the scriptures. Oh, and one thing he does do is he actually goes out on the streets and teaches. I will give him that. But then he's clearly going way the hell off because he's saying that that Babylon the Great is the Vatican City. So I mean, the hell is the cat talking about, man? All right, but that just shows you, Right? It just shows you, some of these people that you're dealing with out here, man. Even these guys who, claim that they're, in the know, right? These guys out here who claim that they're in the know. Just like, at this whole situation with, IDR, right? Israelites Tried and Refined is what the group's called. They called into a show that we did, I want to say last week or so, and they, were debating with us, which I don't need to really recap that, but one thing that I will bring up is they were on there saying that what is that? If you go to what is that? Amos chapter 9 and verse 2 and 3. Where it says what? That they shall, be hid from the bottom of they shall be hid at the bottom of the sea, from my sight. Right? And though they hide at the top of the mountains, we'll hunt them out, nearly paraphrasing the scripture. But I asked him about this, and he said that already happened. It's like, well, wait a second. How the hell could that already happen? If you read the text, it says that though they be hid from my sight at the bottom of the sea, I will hunt them out. So how could that have happened 2,000, 2,500 years ago? If people couldn't have, went to the bottom of the sea. Because it wasn't it, what's that guy's name? Jacques Cousteau or something like that. Didn't he invent scuba gear in the early to mid 1900s? Yeah, it's probably mid 1900s. You can look that up. Which I seen that what was it? ERB, right? Epic Rap Battles History did a debate between Jacques Cousteau and Steve Irwin. All right, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last man's name right. But you can look that up. You know what I'm talking about. Which is actually a good debate. Recommend you look it up. Which it's really a rap, right? It's really a rap. But I guess we could call it a debate, right? A rap, because basically, one putting themselves against someone else, right? Putting disses out against the other person, trying to make themselves look better. You know what I'm saying? So by knowing that fact, right, that scuba gear was not in existence until the 1900s, how the hell could people go into the bottom of the ocean, 2,000 plus years ago, man? Idiots on there telling me, oh, well, no, that already happened. How the hell did that already happen? It's like you ask him and he doesn't know. He just said, well, it happened. So I ask him, okay, well, can you demonstrate how this happened? And he can't do it. He doesn't know. And that's all cool, right? You don't expect them to really know, right? They're just there to repeat what they've been told, man. Same cats are out there saying that, that we're living under the new covenant today. It's like, wait a second. How the hell can we be living under the new covenant if it tells you in, what is that? Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31 on down. And also it reiterates it in, what is that, Hebrews the 8th chapter. It says what? That in the new covenant, no man shall teach his brother about the Lord, because all will know the Lord, from the smallest unto the greatest. And then it also says that they will all have the law written on their inward parts. So wait a second. If I was to go on there and ask those guys, well, name me, without looking up online, name me in order all the 10 commandments, let alone the other 603, right? 613 commandments in total, right? So let's say out of the 613, name me 10. Can you do it in order? I can't do it. So if they can't do it, how the hell can we be under the new covenant? And then also, I got to mention that it says what? Earlier in the verse, it said what? That everyone will know the Lord, from the least unto the greatest. So the fact that we're even on there, trying to have a debate or a discussion about the scriptures, it clearly proves that we can't be in a new covenant. because it said that no man shall teach his brother to know the Lord. So if we're doing that, then how could we be in a new covenant? And then what they'll do is they'll say, oh, well, it's it waxed away. Now, if you go to what is it, Hebrews, the 8th chapter, I believe it's the last two verses in the text, but it says what? That the old covenant is waxing old and is beginning to pass away. Keep in mind it said beginning. It didn't say it did pass away. It said it's beginning to pass away. And wait a second, that was written after the crucifixion of Christ. All right, so if it said after, keep in mind Hebrews was written after the crucifixion of Christ. So wait a second, why is it saying that the new covenant is beginning to wax old and vanish away, if Christ supposedly already brought in the new covenant? How does that make any sense? You ask them that, and they don't know. Right? They really don't know. Hey, but this just shows you, man, that, these guys are waxing, worse and worse, man. Because, I remember, man, watching those guys, a few years back, when they were part of GMS, I believe they were, what is it, the Chicago camp, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Right, GMS Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me down below. But I remember watching those guys, right, with the GMS, in their title. But look at them now, man. Here we are, what, 4 years later or something like that, 5 years later? And look at these guys, man. They went from teaching, a on point doctrine to teaching, pure nonsense, man. Cats on there saying that that UFOs are not in the scriptures. Guys are on there saying that that there's no, nuclear weapons in the scriptures. Guys are on there saying that we're in the new covenant. Guys are on there talking about that Babylon the Great's the Vatican City. Right? Guys are on there. The list could go on and on, man. It's ridiculous, right? But and they also teach that that reincarnation is not in the scriptures. How to forget about that one? They teach that reincarnation is not in the scriptures. So we got to talk about that for a minute, because if reincarnation ain't in the scriptures, well, how do you explain what is that? If you go to Daniel the 12th chapter, it said what? That Daniel is going to come back and he's going to stand in his lot at the end of days. So if you ask them, it's like, oh, okay, well, the end of days, truly isn't here yet. So, what does that verse mean? Again, Daniel the 12th chapter, look it up yourself. It says what? That Daniel is going to stand in his lot at the end of days. Right, so Daniel is going to have to be on earth in the last times, man. Okay, that's a cut. There's no way around that one. What about if you're familiar with the history, right? John, died on the island of Patmos, right? So if you go to what is that, Revelation chapter 10 and verse 11 on down, it says what? That, hey, look, you're going to have to go prophesy again before many nations and kings. But wait a second, there's no record ever given that we have that John ever went and prophesied to other nations before he passed away. So, by that logic, that must mean that John must come alive again, right? Be reincarnated again in the last times. I don't see any way that we could get around that. And that's just a handful. What about if we go to what is that, Matthew chapter 17 and verse 10 on down? It says what? That Christ said that John the Baptist is Elijah, man. It doesn't mean in the likeness of. It doesn't mean one that's similar to John the Baptist. Christ said no, that John the Baptist is Elijah. Right? John the Baptist is Elijah. That's what Christ said, Matthew 17, verse 10 on down. There's no way around it. Guys will bring up, Well, wait, well, they asked John the Baptist, if he was Christ. Excuse me, not Christ. They asked him, are you, Elijah? And he said no. So they'll use that to say, oh, well, see, well, how could he be, Elijah? Well, here's the answer to that: is you don't know who you were in your past life, right? You don't remember your past lives, man. Okay, so he didn't know that, but then the Messiah said that he was. Okay, so Christ knew, right? John didn't know, but then Christ said what it is. So I don't know about you, but I'm gonna take what Christ said, above what John the Baptist said, right? Because he was just unaware at the time that he was Elijah, right? But Christ said that John the Baptist was Elijah. So I'm gonna go with what Christ said then. Again, read it yourself, Matthew 17, verse 10 on down, man. All right. So, as I said, guys just try to, make things more difficult than what they have to be, man. All right. I mean, it's very, simple, right? It's evident at the end of the day, what the scriptures are talking about, man. All right. Guys just try to, hey, they're tap dancing around those scriptures like the bottom half of Betty Ripson, man. All right. But, going back to what I said, no matter what way you cut the cake, it all goes back to the scriptures, right? The evidence that we're bringing out usually always reigns superior to what these clowns are talking about on here, man. And you can see it, right? I mean, hell, man, when you talk to some of these guys, man, it only takes you a minute to know, oh, okay, well, this guy don't know a whole lot, right? Or maybe this person might be sincere, but they might, need to learn little bit more. I'll give an example. I know some people in real life who, were actually close friends of my family for a long while now. I want to say a good 7 years or so, maybe even longer. And they're Catholics, right? So, they're Bible Belt, right? They're Bible Belts, meaning what? They, take the scriptures seriously, right? They always make sure, excuse me, excuse me, they always make sure that, they're on time, for the service. But they always make sure they're on time, right? Coming an hour early, to their Sunday service, right? Thinking they're deep in the scriptures. Like here it is. They they're okay with eating swine's flesh, right? They're okay with doing those things. They're okay with eating that. I remember this one time, man, where I was at their house and they ordered pizza, right? Because we were staying there, and the only pizza they ordered was what is it? Pepperoni pizza, right? So I was like, oh, of course, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like they couldn't get one, cheese pizza. But to be fair, they were unaware that I don't, that I don't eat that, right? They were unaware that I don't consume that type of, meat. So that wasn't, they didn't do that on purpose, of course, but it just shows you, man, right? That these Christians out here will just consume, these foods. But I mean, the Bible's clear, man, that you can't eat these type of foods. If you go to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 17, it says what? Hey, look, when the Lord returns, those who eat the mouse and the pig's flesh are going to be consumed together, says the Lord. Read it yourself. And that didn't happen yet, because we brought it up to that one cat on the show the other day, Mike. We brought that up to him, and he was like, "Oh, well, that already happened, right? That's that already happened." Then we asked him, "Well, wait a second. The 2 verses above it are clearly talking about the Lord's second coming. So unless you're a damn preterist, I mean, I don't think you could really sit there and make such a statement. You know what I'm saying? So as I said, man, these Christians are just doing that Christian shuffle, man. Right? Vocab Malone be on there talking about, the Hebrew Israelites, doing that Hebrew hopscotch. Well, I mean, hell, man, these Christians are doing that, that Christian shuffle. You know what I'm saying? Which I agree with them, that a lot of these Hebrew Israelites, like the Sakari, right, they're doing that Hebrew hopscotch, man. Right, tap dancing around those scriptures like the bottom half of Betty Ripson. Inside joke. But, and I know because I've spoken with, the Decoon, Gorilla, and Facade, right, which are the three heads of the Sakari, group. And you can see, man, those cats are carnal, right? They don't agree with the scriptures. They just they go off of their feelings and how they feel about shit. But they don't really go by what the text says, which is ironic because one of the deacon's slogans is, "Oh, you agree with the text?" And I believe they have a T-shirt out there, and the shirt says, "Oh, well, that's a lot of precepts, right? That's a lot of precepts." But here it is, and they don't agree with the precepts. You know what I'm saying? So as I said, man, at the end of the day, these guys are exposed, man. So going back to what I was saying about the Christians, right, with the whole pepperoni pizza situation. It just shows you, man. I sit there and think to myself, how the hell can these people, sit there and claim that they're, Bible this, Bible that, but here it is. They'll sit there and just consume this food like it's nothing, man. Right? Sit there and willingly, eat, swine's flesh. And, oh, don't even get me started on the seafood, right? The seafood. These people be sitting there, eating damn, shrimp at the church, potluck, after the service, man. So that just shows you, man, even though these people claim that they're, of the Lord, they're not. And it's not that they're deliberately, doing that on purpose, of course, but it's just, they've been deceived, right? If you go to, what is that, Matthew 15, verse 8, it says what? Hey, look, these people, they draw nigh to me with their mouth and honor me, in their heart. And I'm nearly paraphrasing the text, but you can read it yourself, Matthew 15, verse 8. But it says what? But in vain do they worship me, teaching the doctrines and the commandments of men, right? And that's what these church people are doing, man. That's why these Catholics, not only them, really got to throw all the congregations in there, but they're caught up in this whole political, system as well, man. That's why when you go to certain, services at the church, they'll be on there like, oh, we all better, vote for, such and such, right? And I know because I've been at certain places like that, man, right? They add in the political, side to it. I mean, hell, man, if you ask some of these cats, I'm sure that, a lot of them will sit there and tell you they don't even know what Babylon the Great is, man. I mean, hell, one thing that a pastor doesn't know anything about is ask him to explain, the last book of the Bible. Ask them, what does this verse mean? What does that verse mean? That's one thing that they're clueless about, man, is when it comes to those prophecies. Ask them this question. What is the testimony of Christ? Ask a Christian that question. What is the testimony of Jesus? But first, you should ask them, do they have a testimony of Jesus? And I guarantee you, that they'll say yes, that they do have the testimony of Jesus. Then you want to layer the question. Then you want to ask them, okay, well, what is the testimony of Jesus? And see if they know. And then after that, whatever answer they give you, you go to what? Revelation 19, verse 10. It says what? That the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So if these church leaders don't know the prophecies, well, then how can they have the testimony of Christ then? Because it said the testimony of Christ is the spirit of prophecy. You can read the verse yourself. That's what it says. So, going back to what I was saying, man, these certain people out here, they seem like they're doing good, right? They seem like they know a little something, right? They seem like they know a little something. But here it is, they're sitting there eating these unclean foods, man. All right, so that's going to cost you your salvation right there, man. All right, you can't do that, man. All right, if you know that the scriptures are against that, you can't willingly, go around doing that, man. Okay, so that's a big thing right there, because you had the one cat, right? Mike was on the show the other day, and he said, "Well, I mean, I'm not saying that somebody should, go around eating, unclean foods, but I'm saying that I don't believe that it's going to cost them their salvation." And it's like, okay, then, well, by what line of logic could we say that if somebody, let's say for an example, if somebody commits the act of adultery, which what is adultery? Adultery is a man sleeping with another man's wife. All right, that's what adultery is in the scriptures. So, could we then say that that action won't get them, their salvation taken away from them if they continually enact in that? I would think that he'd probably say, well, no. It's like, okay, then. So by what logic can you then say that somebody can, willingly, eat these type of foods that the Lord said that thou shalt not eat? If you read Leviticus, the 11th chapter. As I said, man, hey, man, we just got to be grateful, man. Right? We got to be grateful that we were taken out of that madness, man. Because you could be like one of these cats, like, Rock Upon him, right? Still going to church, right? Still, in Winter Haven, Florida, going to the churches, man. You know what I'm saying? Deceived in that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language. But I mean that BS, man. Right? That nonsense. And that's all Christianity is, man. It's a bunch of nonsense. Right? The Bible's true. But the philosophy that the church puts on it is not true. And, me and mine of God, I can't speak from, any of you other brothers out there, but I can speak from my own experience, because I've actually been, through the church, right? So I'm, familiar, may I say, with the doctrine, right? And even though some of them teach, certain things differently from one another, they all still teach, virtually the same. And that's what? That, Christ, done away with, certain laws, and that, Christ came to love everybody. Christ died for all people, and that Christ is a white man, right? And that there's not going to be slavery in the kingdom of heaven. I mean, hell, if you ask a Christian, well, do you know that there's going to be slaves in the kingdom of heaven? They'll be like, oh, what do you mean? They'll look at you like you got 9 heads. Then ask them, well, what about what does what is it? Revelation chapter 2, verse 26 on down. What does that mean? Right, to him that overcomes, he'll gain power over the nations, and he'll rule them with a rod of iron. What is that talking about? I guess, hey, look, they don't know. You know what I'm saying? All right, if you go to, what is that? Revelation chapter 2, verse 2. It says what? That we have tried them who are said they are apostles, and we found them to be liars. The word apostle means a teacher, right? So we're all apostles in this thing, right? We're all teachers in this thing, right? So we tried those who said they are teachers, and we found them to be liars. And that stands true, man, right? We tried these pastors, and we found them to be liars. Okay, and it doesn't mean that they're deliberately, are actors, as mine of God would say, right? It doesn't mean that they're deliberately deceiving people, right? Like, you got idiots out here saying that people are deliberately being paid on YouTube to trick people. I mean, come on, man. Maybe there's a handful of people out there like that. That could be true. That might be, influenced by a money bag being thrown at them from a third party or something. Maybe that's true. On some people out there, maybe that's true. But a vast majority of them are just talking from their own bellies, from their own philosophies. That's what they're doing, man. Right, without any third party involved. Let me see. So I mean, hey, look, man. It's a wrap on the Christian church, man. Right, the Christian church is done. And again, you have some sincere, brothers, right, and sisters who are in the church, right, but you got to come out of that, man, right? You got to come out of that because they're not teaching you the right way, right? The Christian churches are not teaching you the right philosophy. The word philosophy means it's like a belief system. That's what the word means. Okay, so the churches are not teaching the people what they need to know, man. Right? They're teaching a bunch of lies and nonsense, man. Telling you that Christ came and died for everybody. That's not true. Where does it say that in the Bible? That's not in the scriptures. So that's cut one. I mean, hell, is your pastor going to tell you that God makes good and evil? They're not going to tell you that. That's clearly in the scriptures. These cats all in there talking about that right, that Satan is in a war against the Most High, right? That Satan's trying to buck up against the Most High. It's like, where is that at in the scriptures? Where does it say that in the scriptures? Like, there's this whole thing. These guys are on there talking about that Satan fell from heaven or something like that. Where is that in the scriptures? And don't even go to what is that, Isaiah the 14th chapter. Don't even go there, because if you read the context of that chapter, it's talking about the king of Babylon. So the Lucifer in that chapter is talking about the king of Babylon, is what Isaiah chapter 14 is talking about. That's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. That's not what it's talking about. Right? Because guys will, twist it around and try to make it look like something it's not. You know what I'm saying? That's just that's what guys are doing, man. All right, but this is why you have to be, diligent for yourself, man. All right, we'll watch, their teaching videos once in a while. Why? So we can sharpen our swords, man. Meaning what? That we'll listen to it, and then while we're doing that, we'll think, okay, well, I can cut what he's saying by going to this verse, going to that verse, and that verse here. Right? That's how you want to, think, right? So once in a while, it might be educational for us to listen to some of these, pastors talk, right? Some of these Christian pastors, speak, so we can, learn the different aspects that they would, use, in a debate, so that we can learn how to counter it, even more efficiently. Okay. So it might be beneficial to, sometimes check out some of these, teachers, man. Okay. So, which I'm not going to go for too much longer. I just wanted to, speak about a few of those subjects, man. All right. But hey, look, man, these Christians don't know what's going on, man. All right. So as I said, man, you just got to, you just got to be thankful at the end of the day, that we're not in their situation, man. Because they're on there, they don't know what the hell is going on, man. I mean, hell, man, if you're a Christian in the year 2021, let me say this, because we are Christians, because what does the word Christian mean? The word Christian means a Christ follower, right? So we are a follower of who the world calls Christ, right? So we're Christians. But here's the thing, we're not Christians as far as this world Christianity, right? Christianity where you got to go to a church on the weekends. That's not what we are, right? We're not those guys, right? We're not like those churchgoers, man. All right, we're Christians that follow the scriptures, all right? But we're not Christians as far as the world view on that type of Christianity, if that makes sense. Shalom to Sacramento, the brother, 2-letter J in the comment section. Also, shalom to brother Luke in the comment section. Yeah, he said that Christianity is a joke. Yeah, he's right, man. Right, Christianity is a damn joke, man. And we're not just saying that to be mean. I mean, we're clearly going precept upon precept here a little and there a little to prove it, man. I mean, if they're gonna sit there and say that that Christ is a white man, where is that in the scriptures? If you go to the churches, and we've all been there, man. They already have those the picture of, what is it, Serapis Christus, right? Cesare Borgia, Look that up on Google. Um, that was the man who, the picture of Christ was dedicated after. I believe the man's name was Serapis Christus or Cesare Borgia. Look them up on Google. Um, and that's literally the exact picture of Christ on there. Okay, so that's where they got that from. But that's not in the scriptures. It's like, well, wait a second. How could Christ have long flowing hair if the scriptures say that that's a abomination for a man to have long flowing hair like a woman, right? Or it's unnatural. Let me rephrase myself. It's unnatural. All right. I'm not necessarily sure if there's a scripture that says the sin for a man to have long hair like that. I would have to do more research on it. But I know there's a verse in there that speaks about that it's unnatural for a man to have long hair like that. Okay, so that's unnatural. So where are we getting this notion that Christ had long hair like that? According to was that Revelation 1 verse 14? It says what? That his head and his hair, meaning his what? The hair on his head, they were white like wool. Right? That doesn't match up with the depiction, excuse my stutter, with the depiction of Christ in these church houses, man. Right? So yeah, that clearly disproves what they're on here teaching. You know what I'm saying? So you see. I just wanted to speak about those couple subjects, man. We've went for about 42 minutes here. So I'm going to cut the show short in a minute. So as I said, man, it's just evident at the end of the day, man. Okay, that hey, you gotta come out of this, man, or you gotta come out of, the philosophy that these churches are pushing out here, man. Or you gotta come out of this. Okay, and that goes for all of us, man, because we were all, at one point or another, caught up in that, right, in that nonsense. Let me see. Luke asked me, what are your thoughts on Hillsong? I haven't, as if that's a song, I haven't listened to it before. Hey, to be honest with you, man, I haven't, I'm not much of a music guy, right? I might listen to a little bit of, ERB here or there, or, what is it? The OMFG, or, certain other, musics I might listen to, here or there, but I'm not much of a music guy myself, you know what I'm saying? He said it's a church. Hillsong. Okay, Hillsong is a church. I haven't looked into it, man. If I get some free time, I'll go ahead and do a search on that and see if I can pull anything up regarding Hillsong. Because I've never heard of it. I've heard of the Westboro Baptist Church, I believe. Which, you know what, believe it or not, they're out there getting all types of hate. Why are they getting hate? Because they're teaching that Christ, hates, America, and hates and hates, these rainbow people, right? They're getting all type of backlash and hate about that. But they're actually correct on that. They're actually right. That's what the Bible says. It says that. Right? That's what Christ said. Right? Christ does not love those people. That's not in the Bible. I challenge anyone to show me where that's in the scriptures. Nobody can do it. So even though the Westboro Baptist Church is clearly going off, on multiple different things, of course, because they believe everyone can be saved, right? But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. They are teaching, at least those two topics I mentioned correctly, right? So I'll give them credit on that. But then they go off on other things. Like they're still teaching that white Jesus, right? So they're going off. But out of all of the denominations of the Christian church, they have to be the one that would be closest to the truth. Even though they're far from it, I would have to give them credit as being the one that's closest to it. You know what I'm saying? because I've listened to what people are saying about them, and what they're teaching regarding those particular matters is correct in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? So let me see. Luke said, "I've been to Hillsong a couple of times." Yeah, man, I'll have to look it up. You know, and then I can give my thoughts on it. He said the Westboro Baptists are on the hate group list. Yeah, yeah, and I seen that. I seen Great Millstone, right? The Hebrew Israelites are on the extremist list, right? In the hate group, list. Right? Yeah, Luke said, "Don't go to Hillsong." Hey, you heard him, right? You heard him. Which you shouldn't be going to churches anyway, man. Right? If you go to what is that? Acts the 7th chapter and Acts the 17th chapter, it says what? That the Lord does not dwell in temples that are built by hands. Right? So the real church is where a congregation of believers comes and teaches, right? So where I'm doing my sit down right now, teaching, this is considered church here. If I go to the park and teach, that's considered church. If I come with another brother, we go to just a random area, say in the woods, and we do a video together there, that's considered church service. Okay, that's what it is. Hey, the scriptures say what? That the whole earth belongs to the Lord, man. Okay, the whole earth itself belongs to the Most High, right? So what place can you build for the Lord that's not already His, right? So again, you can read it yourself, Acts chapter 7 and Acts chapter 17. It says what? That the Lord does not dwell in temples that are built by hands, right? So that proves that you don't need to go to a particular building to, worship the Most High. All right, so I'll cut the video, short with that. It's about 50 minutes here. So I hope that video was edifying. I just wanted to speak about it, a handful of subjects. And I'm sorry to Luke, you called me when I was getting ready to end the show, so you called me a little late, but you can go back and listen to the 40 minutes before you came on. But anyway, I just wanted to share a few topics there. Bear with me for just a moment here. Let me just check something real quick. Man. I see it's funny because when I was about to close the show, I just noticed that the viewers jumped to 3 of them. So it went from 1 to 3, right? Now, isn't that funny? How I end the show and then the viewer count goes up. You know what I'm saying? It's ironic, but I'll let it play out for 2 more minutes just because of my OCD. I'll let it play to 50 minutes. But yeah, man. I mean, hey, look, the proof is in the pudding, as I like to say, man. Okay, the proof is in the pudding, for the things that we're teaching, man. All right, so and thanks to thanks to you, Luke, for sharing, the videos, right? I definitely, appreciate it, right? It gets it around, to more viewers, which is of course always, appreciated. So, thank you very much, man. But hey, man, as I was saying, guys act like, we just go around, saying what we're saying, just to say it. You know what I'm saying? They look at us like we're, the bad guy. But everything that we're saying is coming directly out of the scriptures, man. Right? Yeah, that's why, what is that? Matthew 11, verse 6. Christ said, what? A blessed is the man who is not offended in me. And why would Christ even say that if the message that he brought on earth was not to be offensive? Christ said, if you go to, what is that? Matthew, the 10th chapter. Christ said, hey, look, I have come to set a daughter against her mother and a son against his father. That's what Christ has came to do, right? To put a barrier between people, right? To put division. What does the word division mean? The word division can mean a disagreement, right? A disagreement between the people, right? Or it's type of hate or dislike between a group of people, right? That's what Christ came to do, according to the scriptures. That's not what ETT is saying. Right? I didn't make that up. That's what the Bible says, Matthew the 10th chapter, right? So, I just wanted to, speak about those few subjects real quick. I hope that video was edifying. If anybody made it this far into the video, go ahead and put hashtag tree in the comment section, just as a little inside joke. Go ahead and put hashtag tree in the comment section, and I'm gonna say shalom.